Welcome to Naked Spirituality, a video blog series of sacred attention therapy and the Center for Human Awakening. My name is Rob Meager. For more information about sacred attention therapy, the Center for Human Awakening, and our video blog series, please visit our website at www.centerforhumanawakening.com. And center is spelled C-E-N-T-E-R. These video blogs support one of the center's core activities, which is collaboration and partnership with individuals, communities, and healing centers practicing personal growth and spiritual development. And our guest today is Dhyan Ji, and we will be talking with Dhyan about her healing work. And I'll welcome you, Dhyan, to this space with me. Thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Dhyan, on your website, you're described as follows, and I took just one paragraph, and I want to share it with those people listening and watching. It writes on your website, Dhyan Ji is a self-realized master mystic, visionary, pioneer, and teacher. Dhyan Jis Life is bhakti. She is devoted to the awakening, empowerment, and encouragement of others. Dhyan is a Bodhisattva. She is here on this earth to serve truth and assist in the awakening of the planet. She is a catalyst for change. She discovered meditation as a young child, living on, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, Rajneeshpuram, thank you, in Oregon, United States, with an awakened master known as Osho. Where I'd like to begin, because there's a beautiful depth with that one paragraph, and I'd like to explore it a little bit with you. And I wanted to begin with bhakti. Dhyan Ji's life is bhakti. Tell us about this life of bhakti.
So I have dedicated my life to God, and through my realization of God within, something shifted within, which was this desire to serve, and the devotion to service to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a moment to moment thing. It's hard to describe. It is my life now. Everything I do is in service. Everything. Doesn't matter who I'm speaking to, where I am. It's all for the awakening and the support of the enlightenment of the planet.
Dhyan, for those not familiar with the term Bodhisattva, can you tell us what that term means?
I've come to understand this myself. It wasn't something that I've come to understand that this is my role here, if you like. And it means one who chooses to embody God to help the realization of the planet, to help humanity awaken, to help humanity live through their hearts instead of their minds, and to deepen the oneness and unity that is all around us.
Now, you talked, and you have talked, about being in service to humanity at this time. How are you serving humanity at this time? How are you serving truth and assisting with the awakening of the planet at this time?
I give darshan, which is a divine blessing, every weekend, usually on a Saturday morning, at a local community centre and cafe, a place called Congleton in Cheshire. I have also been running spiritual events for nearly 6 years now, where I've invited different teachers from around the world come and share their truth and their awakening and their stories of their enlightenment. Can you shut this door, please? I'm just doing an interview. Thank you. It's my son.
Beautiful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I've forgotten what I was saying.
It's okay. I was asking you about serving truth and assisting in the awakening of the planet at this time. How are you serving truth and assisting with the awakening of the planet at this time?
Yeah, so I give darshan, divine blessings, every weekend, usually on a Saturday morning in my local community in Congleton in Cheshire. And I offer one-to-ones to help people deepen into their truth and to help them learn to witness the mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've also been running spiritual events for nearly 6 years now, and I've invited teachers from all over the world to my local community and to my events, and they have offered their own unique flavour because this is what's needed. You know, we have as many teachers that are needed to share the wisdom in their unique way to help people to understand, because not each teacher is suited to each individual. So and some people will go through, you know, they will meet and connect with many teachers on their journey. This is part of life. Mm-hmm. And some people don't need that either. So there's a, you know, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really through grace how this is happening. Grace mm-hmm. is doing everything, is creating everything, and helping people to see the truth of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Dhyan, you mentioned you offer darshan.
Yes.
What does that look like for someone who may not have participated in a darshan? What does a person coming to a darshan experience?
Nice question. They experience silence, deep silence and stillness. I do actually play some music, some very beautiful music at my darshan. And sometimes I share words too, so it can be a little bit of a satsang, or I'm sharing something, whatever's coming through, and I never rehearse anything or make any notes. It's all spontaneous sharing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've had many people tell me that through coming to darshan, they've received all kinds of shifts in their lives and within themselves, and they've left their jobs, they've experienced more harmony in their relationships, they've come to know the truth of who they are. I've had a lot of feedback from that. Mm-hmm. I guess the simplest way really would be, it's healing and peace for the mind, body and soul. Mm-hmm. And darshan, it not only touches the person who receives it, mm-hmm. it actually works through 7 generations of the family of that person. Mm-hmm. It's like lighting a flame within somebody. They take it into their family and it heals all the past and mm-hmm. future. Mm-hmm. say it like that. I don't really believe in past and future, but I know that it's easier for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So this flame through darshan is the recognition of the true being within, the true you, the inner truth.
Is this part, this assistance in inviting an awareness of one's true self, is this part of the catalytic change that you are described as offering on your website? So being described as a catalyst for change, what are we changing from? And what are we changing to?
It's not a change, it's a realization. So it's the realization that we're not separate, that we are a divine being, that we are an individuation of God, like in form. And the reason that we are in form is because God cannot know itself as one. It can only know itself as many. So through the life of the individual, and often much suffering, the opposite can be realized, that we are not the suffering, we are not the body, that we are infinite consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that realization, that simple realization, changes the entire perspective of the individual. It changes the way they live, the way they think. It releases beliefs and conditionings from the body so that the truth can be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Every moment to moment, the truth can be seen, and it enables the individual to see truth in others, to share that as well. I hope I've answered that.
Mm-hmm. Dhyan, I'd be interested in hearing a little bit about your experience living. I'm going to try and get it right this time. Rajneeshpuram. Puram in Oregon, United States, with the awakened master Osho.
Yes.
Could you share with us a little bit, what was that experience like?
I was 7. When I was 6, I'd already had an awakening at school. Something shifted. And the next thing I knew, we were all going to America. That's what my mom said. Did I want to go to America? And as a 7-year-old at that time, I was happy to go wherever my family was going. So we found ourselves on Rajneeshpuram in Oregon as a family, and there were 5 of us. And we lived there for 3 months, and it was, for me, even as a 7-year-old, I still remember being there, the freedom that I had as a child. I used to wander by the river, just walk around, talk to anybody and everybody. We had set meal times, so we would all gather, hundreds of us, for lunch and dinner. And we were in the Oregon desert, really. There was this beautiful community that had been created. We ate organic food. It was a Buddha field, it was a Buddha field. Osho's presence permeated everyone that was in that space in a deep and profound ways that maybe even people weren't aware of at the time. And he was a blessing to all of us. And it was a blessing for me at such a young age to be given that opportunity. So I remember the blue skies. I remember all the little A-frames everywhere, and the kids' house, and the hall that we used to meditate in. For me, it was such a beautiful experience of freedom, real freedom. Nobody telling me what to do, and actually, if they did, I just ignored it because I was a bit of a rebel. So I'd always I'd always go and do something myself. I would never really listen to anybody trying to tell me to do anything.
Did you have opportunities to be in the presence of Osho and learn from him directly? And if so, what was that experience like?
He was actually in silence at the time. So I can't remember if he was ever, when we were meditating in the halls, I can't remember if he was there or not. I know that there used to be drive-bys where he would drive one of his Rolls Royces around the area, and hundreds of people would gather to watch him go by, and he would kind of give darshan through that. But I never went to any of those. This was my little rebelliousness that was, just how I was. I didn't do what everyone else was doing, just totally did my own thing. I don't even remember being at any of the drive-bys, but I know my sisters went because they were caught on a photograph, a really beautiful photograph.
Now, doing your own thing, throughout your life, you've experienced awakenings into a state of bliss. And I read on your website these awakenings happened in 2012. May 2013, and most recently, almost a year ago, well, if not a year ago, in February of 2017. And can I invite you to share with us about these awakening moments, what they meant for you, and where have they led you?
So the first one, which was in 2012, I'd finished my foundation degree in complementary therapies. I was in a lot of suffering. My dad had been diagnosed with cancer. I was having relationship problems, and I was very much in my head. Was very consumed by my mental and emotional state, and I couldn't get out of it somehow. And there was a kind of record player of events going on in my mind, and when I would see my ex-partner, these two records would create havoc. So it was a difficult time. I was a young mom, and I had a lot of responsibility, and I felt that I couldn't go on with the way things were. I knew there was another way to live, and there was another way to be. I had this deep knowing that there was something else, but I couldn't say what it was, and I didn't know how to reach it. And so this continued for a while, and I really reached a point where I couldn't take it anymore, and I knew I wasn't going to take my own life. I was aware that that wasn't going to be my choice, but I also knew somehow I couldn't carry on like this. I didn't want to carry on living in this way. It was too much suffering and too much pressure. So I went upstairs to my room, and I got on the floor. I don't know why I did this. I put my hands together in prayer, and I asked God to show me another way. Show me another way to live. Show me the truth. And without realizing, I surrendered everything in that moment. I just handed everything over.
Mm-hmm.
And within 24 hours, I don't know what the time scale was exactly, I was just in bliss.
Mm.
There was no more worrying, stressing. Nothing could touch the bliss. My ex would come round and I could see his mind now. When I would see him, I could see what was going on with his mind, and I could see I didn't need to get involved with that. And there was a clarity there that hadn't been there before.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to witness and not get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And this bliss was just so beautiful, so all-encompassing, so divine. I didn't know what I'd done to deserve it. You know, there was this sense of, how did this happen? And I knew that I couldn't hold on to it. So I was aware that maybe it would go at some point. You know, the way it came, maybe it would go. So I did my best to be relaxed with it, not to hold on to it, not to push it away, just to be aware and be grateful. And this went on for about 12 months. And it just, there was times when I just couldn't really speak, but being a mom, it was kind of difficult because my son would want my attention, and he would get a bit frustrated when words weren't coming from me. But somehow he understood. I think he saw a shift, he saw a change, even though he was very young at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of in the May 2013, I think it was the 27th of May or 26th of May, I was connecting with a guest to come and speak at one of my events. She had been on a show, a YouTube channel, which I kind of called Butter at the Gas Pump. Karen Richards, her name was. And we decided we were going to connect, and we were going to have this Skype and discuss creating a satsang event. And I felt that it was time to introduce that to my group and my events, really. So we planned the Skype, we started chatting, and then we both just fell about in laughter. We couldn't get our words couldn't get our words together, really. This beautiful space of presence opened up, and we just fell into that cosmic laughter. And eventually we did sort out some arrangements. But as I closed the laptop after we'd ended the conversation, everything had changed. I went to reach for a cup that had tea in it on the side next to me, and there was I couldn't feel a barrier between me and the cup and the tea. And I looked into the cup, and the cup was just, it was like the universe was in the cup. And then I wondered what was going, this intelligence was happening, but there was also an awareness of what is going on here. So I put the cup down, and I looked in the mirror that was next to me, and I saw myself looking at myself from outside of my body. So I knew I wasn't my body, and I knew that I was connected to everything. Then I stood up, and everything disappeared. I think the walls in the house started to vibrate and move, as if they were just particles of consciousness.
Mm.
And then everything just vanished. There was this sense of, I'm here, there's something that's here, but there's no me, there's no body, there's no identity. There's just this consciousness that's infinite. And there was a sense of dying in that moment.
Mm.
And there was a realization that all suffering was coming from the mind, that all of the suffering in humanity was coming from this idea of mind. And right then I couldn't find a mind for any suffering, so there wasn't me. And my mum was coming to, or I was actually going to drive to her, but I realized I couldn't drive. I couldn't remember how to drive, actually. There was this kind of realization that I don't know how to drive a car. So I asked her if she would come and get me. She phoned me and I said, something's happening. I don't know what's going on, but I know I can't drive my car. Can you come and get me? So she did. And I walked downstairs. But actually, I say walk, what really happened was I floated down the stairs in my house. There wasn't actually a sensation of walking, but I got from my room downstairs somehow. And then there was a sense of maybe I was hungry, and I remembered there was this apple in my bag, so I took out the apple, but it was the most incredible apple I'd ever seen. It was glowing. It was like holding the world, the universe in my hand, and I don't even think I could eat it because it was just so incredibly beautiful. And then my mum picked me up, and I think I just laughed all the way around the shops that we went to. I was in a mixture of absolute gratitude. I knew that I was being shown something. Something was being revealed to me. I had no idea. I just knew it was important, and I knew that I felt a depth of gratitude for it, a huge amount of gratitude. And between crying and laughing, it was just like a child in Wonderland. It just felt like a child in Wonderland. It was just so beautiful. Then there was this also just realization after realization. Actually, was a lot of falling away happened over that period of time, and my beliefs were, there was nothing really to hold them up anymore. I couldn't see what was right and wrong. I couldn't understand how people were getting into arguments about things all the time. Didn't make any sense to me anymore. Couldn't engage with that. My whole world, this whole idea I'd had of myself, who I was, what this was, had gone, had completely vanished. And then I had to kind of pick up the pieces from that, which was a little bit destabilizing for a little while, to recognize what had actually happened. Because although I'd been on this pathless path for many years, I'd not read any books really, or I hadn't really, I hadn't studied this in depth or at length, and I didn't really know. I was still, before these happenings, I was still of a mind that, people who become enlightened and awakened, they live in India, and they have to go and live in a cave and meditate every day, every moment, and they have to have this intense practice. But I realized if this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. And that was really my message. That's the message that I felt I was given, to share that it can happen to anyone at any time, anywhere. And it's grace. It's through grace. It's nothing that anybody's doing or not doing. It's just happening.
Dan, what happened in February of 2017? So obviously some time passed
Mm.
from the beautiful story of the awakening, being in prayer in the bedroom, um, it, it, uh, you know, show me another way, the beautiful realization with the apple, the oneness, the wonderful shopping trip with your mom that day where there was laughter and just, a spilling over and out of gratitude. Then there was a period of settling, perhaps. And then something happened in February 2017, almost a year ago. What was that about?
Yeah, I found myself, or my body really, was in some deep pain. I was in my pain body. Hard to describe. I don't. It came from this kind of emotional need for a relationship, and it sent me into pain. I'd had a brief relationship with somebody. It ended, and I was kind of very upset, but it really made me look within as to what this relationship was, why it was needed, what was the desire for. It was a time of introspection, and I actually went through 3 days of intense pain in my body, and in that time there was a kind of allowing the pain to teach me something, an acceptance of the pain, not wanting to run away. It's like, okay, so now I have to deal with this, I have to face this, I have to look at what this is. So I made that choice. I kind of cleared everything out of the way so that I could be with the pain for 3 days. And I think it was the third day or the fourth day, I don't remember now. But I woke up in the morning and there was no sense of a body at all. And there was a story that my mind was creating a story about I needed some help. This wasn't a good thing, that I didn't have a body. Where was my body? What was going on? And you need some help, get some help. There was this kind of story playing out, and I was not going to get involved with that. I realized that this was the mind creating some drama. There was some fear. There was definitely some fear. It was like, well, where is my body? So I was kind of looking around for a body. There wasn't one. So I wondered what happened to it. Where did it go? And then I thought I'll go and see my son because he will let me know whether I'm actually in physical body or not. he'll make things a bit clearer. So I did that, and I was fine. He could see me, and so I knew I was somehow still here. And then I went to get my dressing gown, and I saw this hand reach up for my dressing gown, which it was kind of like, whose hand is that? Where's that arm come from? What's going on here? But very beautiful. It was like the fear had subsided. I'd actually begun to accept the situation rather than try and figure it out. It was just a deep acceptance. Well, this is what's happening, And I went to the bathroom and washed my face, but it was just utter bliss because there was no ideas of what the face is, no ideas of what the hands are. I really was, it's hard to describe actually, so I'm doing my best, but I don't know if this really gets to the point. So I washed my face and it was consciousness without any conditioning, So it was pure experience of consciousness. So it was bliss. There's nothing else there apart from this bliss and the sensations. It was beautiful. I got in the shower and it was the same thing. It was like, where's the water end? Where am I? You know, it was like the water was just running through me as me. There was this just purity of experience, so beautiful. I saw that all separation is coming from the mind. Even light and darkness comes from the mind and their ideas, actually. And I saw that I existed before the mind, before any ideas of who I was.
Dhyan, you've shared with us beautifully some awakening moments you've had in 2012, 2013, and most recently, a little over a year ago. Dhyan, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, if they wanted to reach out to you, can they do so via email? Is there a website they can explore to get more information?
Yeah, anybody that wants to connect with me, my website is www.awakeninglove.co.uk. My email, now I think this is right, is dhyanAwakeninglove@hotmail.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure the email address and the website address are in the scrolling credits at the end. Thank you so much, Dhyan, for being with me today and for sharing your open heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.